Welcome back to Thimbleberry U. I am John Jagay, joined again by Amy Walls from Thimbleberry Financial. Amy, good to be back with you.
Good to be talking to you.
Today you wanted to talk about the right time to save money, and I've known you for a couple of years now. I'm going to kind of guess that the right time to save money is now, but I know we're going to dive a little bit deeper on this. What prompted this topic for today's podcast?
Yeah, well, first of all, you are 100% correct. The answer is almost always sooner rather than later, right? It's not a tough thing to figure out. And the reason is compounding interest.
Right.
And so I think a lot of times when you hear people wondering about that, the question goes a little bit deeper than they're talking about. But without knowing what those underlying questions or reasons are that they're asking the question, it's hard to address it as a topic. Mm-hmm. The reason I wanted to talk about this today is I was recently showing my daughter some numbers about the value of investing early. I ran a spreadsheet for her, and I was shocked at some of the numbers I came up with. And it has just made her very excited about working and saving now. And like I said, the numbers were shocking.
And to be clear, your daughter is a teenager, right? I do remember that correctly, right?
Yes, she is 14 years old. You know, I don't talk a lot about my family during these podcasts. So I'll give you a little background. So she turned 14 earlier this year, which means she's old enough to get her first job. Okay. And she has never invested. I also have a son who is 5. So we'll leave him out of this for a little bit.
He is not working at this point. Okay.
No, but he'll definitely do almost anything for money. My daughter, on the other hand, has never had an interest in money. She's a responsible kid. She's a great kid, but she has had zero desire for money, either to spend or to save. She enjoys art, books, and swimming. And her entire life, she's been involved in art, and gifts have always been art supplies and books. And so there's nothing she has ever wanted to spend her money on.
Interesting. This would be the apple falling very far from the tree, right?
Yes. But the backstory, with this is I do joke with her regularly that she could take over my practice. It's very much a joke because it is in no way who she is. She and I are polar opposites. But as a business owner, and I could have done this earlier, it's also why I touch on with my husband, I could have hired her at an earlier age than 14 and taken advantage of some what I'll call fun rules or loopholes to pay her a salary. But because I'm a business owner and she's my child, I could avoid having her pay FICA taxes.
Oh, I didn't know that. That's interesting. Okay.
Yeah. So this didn't happen because, like I said, she's had zero interest in making money. She has zero interest in what I do. In fact, my job is very boring to her. I also didn't want to push it because of her lack of interest and jump through the state loopholes in hiring her, before the age of 14.
Okay.
So let's fast forward. And my daughter discovered sewing.
Okay.
Okay, of all things, sewing, and specifically quilting. Mm-hmm. She loves quilting now. She also wants to make some clothes for herself. And guess what costs a lot of money?
The material, I'm guessing.
Yeah, the fabric and the patterns. It's not cheap. I took her to a fabric store recently and she bought fabric just for the top of a quilt, not the rest of the quilt. And she spent $70.
Oh, okay.
So for a 14-year-old to drop $70 when she also made another quilt top in one day, it adds up.
Okay, so she now is starting to see that if you have money, you can buy things and thus starting to appreciate money a little bit more. How does compound interest play into this scenario?
Yeah, so I explained to her, right, that when she thinks about getting a job, that she could get a job making pizzas or scooping ice cream, or she could intern with us, earn more, and get better experience. Mm-hmm. And my expectation would be if she did that she would need to start and save money into a Roth IRA.
Okay.
So what I showed her is if she saved $6,000 into a Roth IRA starting at age 14, how that money would grow. Mm-hmm. Now, because she's so young, risk tolerance isn't an issue for her. I assumed an average growth rate of 10%.
Okay.
Okay. And it's Roth money. It would be for retirement. Mm-hmm. So here's what that one $6,000 contribution becomes over time. By the time she's 37, that $6,000 contribution becomes $50,000.
So that is $6,000 one time becomes $50,000 31 years from now.
Yes. It's, of course, going to be future dollars too, but by age 66, that one contribution is $850,000.
Huh. Just one $6,000 contribution.
Yes.
Can you go back in time and tell 14-year-old me this? Because this is powerful stuff, Amy.
Yeah, 14-year-old me also would have loved to have realized this. Now, imagine she does that for 4 years. Okay, so she's starting high school this next fall. She'll find out about high school today and where she's going. But that's $24,000 in contributions over 4 years.
Yep.
By age 35, that's $154,000 tax-free.
Oh, my goodness.
Because it's in a Roth IRA.
Right.
And by age 66, $2.9 million.
All tax-free that she can then access as a retiree.
Absolutely.
Oh, man. Just for the 4-year contribution now. Wow.
Yes. So obviously she's in a very different place, being 14 years old, never has had a job, than the clients that I'm lucky enough to get to work with. Mm-hmm. Both in terms of her financial situation and her knowledge. And the conversations I've had with her have been a little bit more basic, but the message of saving early and also thinking about saving in the right place in the tax situations that we focus so much on. And then also having balance between both savings and spending. The fundamentals of those conversations are the same.
You know, what I love about this, Amy, is she's really kind of discovering money and money as a vehicle to do things, like you said, buying the fabric to quilt and things like that. So she's now seeing the value of spending money and learning that. But she is learning the value in saving money at the same time. Whereas I think 99% of people or more probably learn that instant gratification and spending the money versus not learning about saving until much later on.
Yes. And granted, it's an opportunity that not all kids have, that I can have her do this and earn this money. I really felt the right thing to do was set the expectation with her that because it's a gift, not that it's a gift, she has to earn the money. So let me be clear.
Yeah.
But that it's an opportunity that not everybody has. She needs to approach it with the right expectation. And that is she's going to get money to spend, but at the same time, she has to have that money to save.
Okay, so she can do both. That's kind of like the best of both worlds.
Mm-hmm.
You and I have talked about the marshmallow experiment, I believe, in a previous podcast, right?
Yes. I have the kids do it once or twice a year.
So quick refresher for those who have not heard it in previous episodes. You put a marshmallow in front of a kid and say, you can have this marshmallow right now, but if you wait 10, 15 minutes, whatever it is, you can have 2 marshmallows. And the majority of kids will take the marshmallow right then, as opposed to waiting and getting the 2 marshmallows. My wife and I were at her cousin's house a few weeks ago with their, I think she's 11-year-old. And we were explaining this to her. She and her stepmom had just made brownies. And so we tried it with we tried this with brownies. And we're laughing. We're like, you're not going to be able to wait for the second brownie. You're only going to get the one. And true to form, she ate the one and spent the next 25 minutes trying to negotiate to eat the second one and break all the rules, which we were not surprised at all. But you're teaching the marshmallow thing here to your daughter, and also, you know, the ability that in some situations maybe you eat the marshmallow, and then in some situations maybe you wait for the second marshmallow.
Oh, I love that. My kids are becoming immune to the marshmallow test. Used to be my son would sit till like minute 9 when I set a 10-minute timer and then eat the marshmallow while my daughter just sat there. And then he would throw a fit while she got to 4 marshmallows or 8 marshmallows. And I don't think we ever got further than that because I'd call it quits because he'd be so upset at his choice. But I will have to switch to brownies.
Well, there you go. I mean, who doesn't love a good brownie?
Yeah, absolutely.
So, Amy, we've talked a lot about spending and saving here. And as we said at the beginning, almost always, when is the best time to start saving? Today or yesterday? But there probably might be a time when it isn't the right time to save or invest, too. There could be an exception to the rule, right?
There definitely is. And I love that you asked this question. So one of the times that this comes up is when someone sees an opportunity, like the market declines that we've seen so far in 2022, this volatility that we've been in. Mm-hmm. And they're like, hey, I could invest this money right now. And because I have this long-term goal, it's going to work hard for me. So it makes sense now while the market's down to get this money invested.
Buy low, so high, yeah.
Yep. That could totally make sense. But when it isn't going to make sense is when that money is needed for a short-term goal or that money is their cash reserve, their cushion.
Okay. So a down market could be a great opportunity if you're thinking long-term, down the road, retirement, stuff like that. But if that's money you need for a major purchase in the near future, not always the best idea to dump it into the market, so to speak.
Yeah, I think there's some behavioral aspects to this to consider too. We've talked about this before. There's, if you're going to invest, let's say you had $100,000 that's been sitting on the sidelines and you want to get that into the market. You really have two choices. One is to dollar cost average. It's the same way someone contributes to their employer-sponsored retirement plan per paycheck, right? It's spread out over time systematically. The other way is to lump sum invest, which is really taking that money and dumping it into the market all at once. I bring up the behavioral aspects of this because we know that 2/3 of the time, lump sum investing will have come out ahead 10 years later.
Okay.
But that doesn't mean it's the right answer.
Okay.
And why I say that, Jag, is that some people have a personality that if they put that money into the market in a lump sum and it does go down further, they may kick themselves and beat themselves up about that decision, even though ultimately it recovers. They're not going to think about the recovery.
That short-term pain might overwhelm their long-term gain. It might be too much for some people.
Exactly. And the problem with that is that behaviorally, when that sticks with them, what they learned is that was a mistake. And so now for the future, investing becomes very scary because they associate putting that money into the market with having made a mistake. So they are much less likely to make the right choice going forward.
The behavioral aspect is something I feel like we talk about each time you and I sit down, Amy, but that's really interesting. You don't want to put yourself in a position where you cause a deep enough scar, so to speak, that it's going to affect your decision-making ability long-term in different situations.
Yes. It's definitely something that when we have clients, couples, this comes up a lot, where one, they could lump sum invest, no problem. But the other person in the couple, they're just not going to be okay if it does go down further. And so we'll have that conversation, what we just talked about in their situation. And I'd say, if it were just one of you, person A, then I would say you could lump sum invest. But given the dynamics here for your future, I don't think that's safe. And I think you do need to dollar cost average going forward.
And I think that really ties it together, Amy, for why it's really important for you to get to know your clients and what makes them tick. You've got some people that want to just consistently invest that dollar cost averaging, same amount each time they put money in. And then you got some that want to take advantage of an opportunity and maybe have a little bit of risk with it. And that's why you sit down and you take the time to get to know your clients at Thimbleberry Financial. What are the best ways for people to find you if they want to know more?
Yes, they can find us online at thimbleberryfinancial.com, or they can give us a call at 503-610-6510.
You like that segue, by the way?
Yeah, I did. It was good.
Take care, Amy. We'll talk again soon.
Yep, sounds good.
Registered representative. Securities offered through Cambridge Investment Research, Inc., a broker-dealer, member FINRA SIPC. Investment advisor representative. Cambridge Investment Research Advisors, Inc., a registered investment advisor. Cambridge and Thimbleberry Financial are not affiliated.